Hello and welcome to a new episode of Ledgercast. We're live today. I'm here, as you can see, with Josh Olsowich. Hey, Josh.
What up?
It's great to have you back, man.
Just watching the live stream. It's weird because there's a delay, obviously, but yeah, it's good to be back, Brian.
Yeah, you just got to turn that live stream off. So we're playing around right now with live streaming the show, and then this will also hit the podcast as well. But we are both on video today. We're going to do some news and market analysis like we normally do. And then we may trim some of this down for the actual podcast. But I'm excited to talk to you again. And playing with some fun new software today, dinking around. So I hope people are patient with us and give us some confirmation that everything sounds good, looks good, that kind of thing. But besides all that, what you been doing in the market, man? It's been a couple weeks since we've chatted. You've been doing some market analysis on Brave New Coin, but let's get the lowdown from Carpe Noctem. Is the bottom in?
I mean, I think so. Here's the thing. I don't like to brag about my analysis because the bragging comes with like earning the money from trading, right? But last week, 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, 10 days ago, whatever it is, like there was an article on Brave New Coin on ETH that was like, this is the bottom. This is the reversal point right here. This is the inflection. And that's what happened. So I'm not surprised. Like my P&L isn't surprised.
Your P&L
I
is
bought
not surprised. A little humble brag action there.
I bought spot at that price. I was not on leverage at that price, which is fine. But I caught some leverage, like the $100, $120, something like that, on the move, which is really all you need if you're on leverage. Like you don't need to go super crazy with things. Just lock it in. We're not at a point yet where there's a clear trend one way or the other. We're definitely like still in intermediary phases, I think.
Yeah, I think we were relatively on the same page, like cautiously optimistic that we weren't going to revisit lower lows below 6K. That wasn't a popular trend at the time. I mean, we were obviously counter trading the trend by doing that, and it wasn't a capitulation wick like it was the last time we went down to 6,000. So I think everybody freaked out that, like we need that capitulation. We got to hit 4,900 or something like that. But it seemed clear enough to me, or at least the risk reward was good enough that, like you said, if your margin is low enough, if you protect yourself, whatever, that shouldn't have happened. So we've had a nice run up since then, and today we're getting to the point where we're seeing some corrections off that run. So now we're asking ourselves again, is this alt season? Everybody's of course hardly talking about Bitcoin. It's just like as soon as alts show life, it's a question of when are we going to be on the moon? We've already seen 100% increases on a lot of altcoins. Do you have thoughts about that and how Bitcoin's moves? We've seen some violent activity today. How you think that'll affect these the hopium on the alt market?
Yeah, I was on the Crypto Street Pod last night, and we were talking about
Really?
alt season. Yeah, we were talking about alt season. I was like, you know what? That's like so triggering for me because it's a bunch of pikers, people with like $50 who are like trying to 10x on Tron or something, TRX. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, things look good. Usually, Ethereum leads the alts, right? So if Ethereum is bottoming, everything else tends to be bottoming at the same time, and somebody was posting some correlation where things are really highly correlated right now, so everything's sort of moving together. I don't think that's going to last forever, but it makes sense right now that everything was down 70+%. So even like Bitcoin Gold, Bcash, all that stuff is bouncing.
Yeah,
most of that stuff's up like over 70%. Like EOS is up like 100 and something percent.
EOS is making all-time highs.
Yeah, over the past couple of days. So it's like people are freaking out over this drop, but it's like like things don't go straight up or straight down. They go up and down all the time.
Yeah. So what we should see here, at a minimum, are some higher lows on altcoins if we're going to maintain the trend, if we don't fall fully back into accumulation phases. Personally, I've been a little surprised. Like, to me, the accumulation period was too quick. Like, we really didn't bounce around in any kind of bottomy rectangle type of formations on altcoins for more than a few weeks.
Yeah.
So that was surprising to me. But nevertheless, we're here. We're at a point of resistance. I hedged a little too quick and cost myself some money doing it. Like, you never want to hedge, be right, and lose money anyway in the hedge because you did it too soon or with too much or too high of leverage, whatever it is. And that's basically what I did. So I escaped the altcoin hedges that I did. But, I lost a little money along the way, and I had a little cash on the sidelines to be able to buy things today. And I had been consistently taking profits. Like, we were hitting those 40-50% gains on altcoins, and I was taking profits on those. So
exactly.
That was good.
Like, you can't just see that happen and then do nothing. Like, we aren't there yet where it's just, like we said, like a definite trend. Like, obviously the low time frame's very clear that we're breaking like broke the hourly cloud on pretty much everything, and it's just like trending, broke the 6-hour cloud on most of this stuff. But definitely it's not a buy and hold situation in my opinion for most everything right now, unless you're on Bitcoin. And like, we're going to go to 13K. The trajectory will not be a straight line, which is what we're seeing right now. I was telling people with the daily cloud, like, yes, it's an edge to edge, but like you said with the alts, it's too soon. Essentially, it's like cooking eggs or something. It's like, let it set for a little bit. Let your omelet set up before you take it out of the pan. So what I'm waiting for is that bullish TK cross to sort of give the next signal that we're okay to go up
on the daily time frame.
Yeah, on the daily cloud, specifically for Bitcoin. But it is the first time since January 16th that we're above the Kijun, which is massive. That's a huge level we broke right there.
Yeah, we obviously have reversal signs in place. We broke above the Kijun today. We did a real nice engulfing move below. So far today, we've engulfed everything that we saw yesterday, which can be a little scary. My suspicion would be that we should rally back above the Kijun for the daily close. I'm not sure if you can see my screen. I might need to share it in Skype. But
no, I can't. I can see it on YouTube. But.
Yeah, the live stream should see it. And I think this daily view will be something to watch to see how we close today. Like, we really don't want to engulf that really nice daily candle we had yesterday with a bearish version of it today. And then we'll see if we can, get that TK across like you were talking about. Is there anything in particular that you've been doing in terms of trying to decide, like, hey, here's what my stop's going to be for, you mentioned off of leverage, but off of spot? Or are you basically, are you long on spot and you don't intend to change that? Or is there like a turning point where you say, okay, well, if we go below 8,000, I'm going to protect myself in cash or that kind of thing?
Yeah, for spot, I'm set with the buys I have. Like, I have something at like 6,700 or something. That was the spot buy, so I'm not too concerned about any of that at the moment. I don't think I won't take any off the table of that in the interim future for sure. Again, we're going to 13K.
Yeah,
I'm rarely this confident that we're going to do anything, but when you see this Adam Eve setup, this giant Adam Eve setup, and this edge to edge thing, like this cloud move on the daily is not frequent. It's super rare. So yeah, this is not investment advice, but
super rare that we get the opportunity to do like an edge to edge move like that. You mean?
Yeah, and it's a massive. It can fail. It can go sideways until the cloud goes to nothing and turns bullish, but it's like the weekly on when we were hitting like 500 all over again. Like we might get we might get a giant ascending triangle that takes like 200 days to pan out here. I don't think that'll happen, but
that's a possibility.
Yeah. But even then, that's still a bullish continuation. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about this being a 2014 style setup where we hit the 13,000, 14,000 even, and then we die? We do the long and slow death, like the big bull trap from 2014.
I think we've already like debunked that, haven't we? The 2014 thing.
Because that the fundamental basis is completely different.
Yeah, I mean the fundamentals are it's like night and day on two different planets basically. But any pop up we get, everyone's saying like, "Oh, this is a bull trap," right? Like you were saying on Twitter the other day,
Yeah.
you had something about
you got bear traps and my bull traps that are bear traps or whatever.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Every move is a trap for something.
Right. So I don't know. Like I honestly don't care because it's just so different in the chart. Yeah, we can go to 600, whatever, but I don't really see that panning out the way it did in 2014.
Yeah. You know, I want to believe with you. I do. Part of me thinks that we're in for a long period of large chop, and I feel like that's a cop out. But I do think that anything below the lows we've made, and this is a pretty sufficient double bottom. So anything below that, I really feel like is more unlikely. It's hard for me to believe we can go to 3K. I know we can, but it's hard for me to believe that's a realistic expectation with the fundamental market that we have today. I mean, just today we had NASDAQ saying they're open to being a crypto exchange, you know, like that is so bullish, it's insane.
Well, you can't look at the profits that these exchanges are making and ignore it. Like you can't be an exchange with the capability of being an exchange and ignore crypto anymore.
Yeah.
It's a bad business decision at this point. Like you need to be able to capture some of that market share for sure, I think. The demand is clearly there.
Yeah, and so to me, it's like I feel like we still need to chill before we go make all-time highs. Like I know you're still on the handle with the 33K by July.
Let me caveat that.
Yeah, caveat that for us.
Put a whatever pinpoint asterisk on that. The only reason that trajectory remains intact is because of that pitchfork. If that pitchfork dies, you know, if we close out of that pitchfork, then that dream is over. But as long as we're there, the median of the trend is 26 to 30K, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not like backing out on my 33K. I think we're going to hit it. It might not be July, but I think we'll hit it this year for sure.
I'm very curious to see if that happens.
I like your face there. You're like, I don't know.
You know, I want to
see it. I want to see it more so just for the fact that there are so many people telling me it can't happen. Like,
yeah,
it's the haterade, the fuel.
Yeah, you got to have it. Yeah, I don't want to say it can't happen. We went 17x last year, so what's to stop us from 2 or 3x in this year? I'm not trying to say it can't happen. I'm just a big part of me thinks that you have to have a significant reset period after a move like we had in December and January, and I equate alts with that too.
I mean, is this not a significant reset period though?
It has been. I mean, it's been several months of.
It's been a whole quarter.
Pain and suffering. I'm not. So my point is not of recovery. Like I think we can recover because we did that for 3 or 4 months, but maybe we need another 3 or 4 months of painful chop to get people scared in both directions and whatnot, and maybe test the all-time high or test 14K and then run back down and really just get people messed up. It seems like that would make people that are seeking liquidity pretty happy, is if we range around in a $5,000 zone or so. And that daily cloud's pretty big. That gives us at least a month or so to
Oh
be
yeah.
able to run around in the cloud.
Yeah, I mean, people see that, and I say EDE, and they think like it's gonna go in one straight line, but it rarely happens with Bitcoin on that high a time frame. It happens with alts all the time. So it looks like the edge to edge is being predicted, and you're waiting to get in, and then it just does it in like an hour. But that's alts for you.
Yeah. So I want to talk about alts. I pulled up the Ethereum chart. We've also got some fundamental Ethereum questions in the chat. So first off, from a cloud perspective or just horizontal support and resistance perspective, Ethereum went up and put a shooting star above the Keynesian on the BTC pair and could not get into the daily cloud and got rejected off of it in a big way today with the Bitcoin dump. Ethereum dumped too.
That's good. That's what you expect to see. Like I'd say this all the time, but this is what the cloud is telling you should happen. So, like, I'm not surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you are either. But
no, I don't think we're done with this run though. I don't think Ethereum just goes and dies off here. We do have a cloud twist. I don't know anybody who was really talked about these cloud twists being low resistance zones before you, so I'll credit you for it. But I think we could run around here under the cloud until this twist and maybe make a bigger move for Ethereum. On the dollar chart, it's also got a possible edge to edge play that ends up around $880 and
888 baby.
Yeah, so
You got to read you got to read that. Sorry, you got to read that Brave New Coin article that came out today.
I did.
888. Okay,
hey, you
okay.
gave people.
Sorry,
you gave people. You put the $600 dip on a platter.
I did.
Somebody.
I finished that article like yesterday, like 7:00 Eastern or something. But at least the charts are timestamped, so it doesn't look like I'm calling dips like after the dips happen. Anyway, Go ahead. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
That's fine. I was just gonna say. To me, it seems like Ethereum could reset. It hit the upper bound on RSI. It painted. There were some pretty nice bear divs on the middle time frames for Ethereum BTC, but it seems like the dollar pair definitely has room to grow for Ethereum. And if this alts run or whatever is going to continue a bit, then we can probably keep moving. However, there are some fundamental factors that are at play, the biggest of which is this question about Ethereum as a security, and Andreessen Horowitz and other interested parties lobbying the government, basically trying to say it's too distributed now to be a security, etc. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit in the article too. I don't know what to think, honestly. It depends on their lobbying power, but it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
The Jay Clayton guy, the SEC, he has both said that all ICOs he's seen are securities, and it has also sort of implied that Ethereum is not a security because reasons. Like I didn't find any reason specifically why he deemed it not a security, but he's I don't know. Like, they just need to make a statement about it, or a law, or whatever. Like, again, just like taxes. Like, it's not clear.
Right.
I think to most people, it's classified as a security. Just because
what do you feel that would be the broader market effect if it's deemed a security? Like, if someone comes outright says this is a security, surely we would see exchanges be delisting Ethereum.
Yeah, I mean,
Ethereum pairs. To me, that's a Mt. Gox sized event almost. Like, at least for the midterm, that would be catastrophic.
Yeah, and we were talking about this months back when we were seeing exchanges listing ICOs that were clearly securities, and we were saying that the government agencies, regulatory bodies, aren't going to go after these individual rinky-dink ICOs. They're going to go after the exchanges because that's the money shot, right? because they can just close the exchange and the secondary market is just cut off instantly,
Yeah.
or find the exchange or whatever. So yeah, I don't think like Ethereum directly will be impacted in that regard. It'll just be a complete apocalypse on the exchanges.
Yeah, that would that'd be a tough dip to buy for me. I mean,
So, well, it's not like, again, it's like Ethereum. It's like all this news about Bitcoin until the core protocol. I don't like using the word core, but until the protocol is affected, like it doesn't matter. Ethereum's a little different, but in regard to that, it's the same concept in the way I think about it.
yeah, it does seem like we're on a path to where we do call a spade to some degree, and I listened to, I can't remember her name. She works at
Laura Shin?
Laura Shin was interviewing what's her name?
Melton Demir.
Yeah, Melton Demir.
Yeah.
And so Laura was asking Melton whether she felt that there were going to be fewer ICOs, and she mentioned that they were actively encouraging there to be fewer ICOs. So where they weren't actually using that type of event for their fundraising mechanism, so that more of the, I guess you would say, like highly legitimate projects are moving towards private rounds only, and then
Right.
to get public interest to do these airdrops and other things that help them prevent themselves from being a security, and then using those private funds, whether it's venture capital that's raised or private token sales to accredited investors and whatnot, using that to essentially fund the product development. So it seems like these types of sales are going to be less and less available to your retail audience, which I imagine will also appease the SEC a good bit, at least in the States. And it seems like Europe might be headed on that track as well to try to clamp down a bit on retailers being involved in this stuff. So what interests me in that is what happens to the ones that are already out. Like what happens to your Filecoins and your Tezos and those types that raised a ton of money, and they did it in a way that the SEC at least would probably classify as security. What happens on those types of projects?
I mean, in my heart of hearts, I hope they all get slammed because I think they're all just a joke. Like I don't have the knowledge to discern whether or not these projects are legitimate businesses or just straight up crowdfunding like scams. Like I don't know. It's like Tezos. I honestly don't know what's going on with Tezos. I'm not invested in any of them, so it helps that I can sit back and watch the world burn in that respect.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that are invested in Tezos and others that don't like hearing this. I think it's inevitable that at least somebody is probably going to be made an example of, in my mind. And probably whichever one has like the sleaziest workarounds to try to just abide by the letter of the law, but not the intent, if you will. And in my mind, Tezos is a great candidate for that. Like the way they structured their legalese, like give us money and you don't deserve anything but a tote bag. This was a gift to fund the development of this network, et cetera, and the fallout they had. In my mind, that would be a great candidate if there was going to be one that people go after, to possibly go after.
Yeah, I'm no securities lawyer, but I would certainly have a sour taste.
Yeah.
Certainly have a sour taste in my mouth reading the PR garbage they spew out, and there's only so much people can take before something's going to happen. The straw that breaks the camel's back or whatever.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too that surprises me is, people are saying, "Oh, well, we're registered in some island off of Europe," or
it's like EOS being registered in Cayman or
in the Caribbean or whatever, and like that's good enough. But
right.
There's a long arm for the American legal system, and the European one too. If the EU especially decides to crack down and get fancy, and for me, like something like that could be a scenario where maybe Bitcoin handles it fairly well, but the altcoin market could just get absolutely crushed. Or maybe it's all fun. Like maybe we're going to see trillions of dollars digging into this whole ecosystem. But part of me just thinks like we are not currently seeing the products that are going to be the long lasting ones. Like maybe some of these will have a long term footprint, but I think the risks on that side of things are greater than the risks on Bitcoin fundamentally right now.
Well, I feel like the ICOs with the smallest raises actually have a shot because they're trying to work towards something.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, people have said this already tons of times, but again, I keep bringing up Tezos, but you can't raise that much money and then do nothing, obviously. But at the same time, you're not maybe motivated as much as you would be otherwise. I mean, you're certainly motivated because you don't want to go to jail for securities fraud, but but again, anybody can raise money and have a failed business and say like, this was legitimate, we tried, right?
Right.
And it's hard to know like what was a legitimate effort versus what wasn't. Mm-hmm. So when you raise that amount of money, again, I don't know.
So let's dig into it a little bit from the perspective of exchanges. I mean, you've been pretty open on this podcast about not being all in on Binance. That you're skeptical, yet they're absolutely commanding in terms of altcoin volume for at least Western country traders, and they are listing all sorts of stuff. You know, it doesn't seem like they're doing any significant review in terms of the types of coins they list. Whereas Bittrex has come out and really pretty strongly talked about how they're doing thorough reviews on, you know, whether the organizations are legitimate, whether they have products, whether they believe they're security, get their lawyers involved. And they've also publicly stated that they don't charge for their listings, but it's based on merit. And there seems to be
Bittrex said they don't pay for listings?
Bittrex said they don't charge.
I'm pretty sure they do, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's just what I read, so I don't know. Maybe we need some support on that. But anyway, Binance, however, it's like the worst secret ever that they charge absolutely boatloads of money to get on their exchange, unless you get some sort of like community-based listing.
Well, if you were an exchange, what would you do? There's 1,000,000,000,000,000,000 literally,
of
course you're going to charge.
If you go into any of these Telegram groups, you know, and the ones where they haven't really listed anywhere yet, like the question is always like, when Binance? You know, like whatever. And who wouldn't want to be there?
And I've said this before too, like screw development on anything. Just get it listed on somewhere. That's all people really care about, which just speaks to the just absolute scam level of all this ICO stuff. It's like we don't care about development or, you know, real business partnerships or anything. We just care about getting listed places, right?
Yeah. Is there anything that you do think is looks good as an altcoin aside from you know, I think both of us are widely known for being bullish on decentralized exchanges. We've talked about ZRX a ton. But like, do you think there's any other projects out there that look like they're doing good things from a fundamental perspective?
Well, it's easy to get listed, relatively speaking, versus like creating a business. So again, I'm not the person to evaluate these things, but businesses take time to develop. Like this ICO I was involved with, Xpretty. It's like they have a product, they have a business, they have a whole team of people. It just takes time for things to happen. Yeah. But as far as like sectors that are interesting, I was talking to Derek when he was here in Baltimore about stable coins, and he sort of illuminated me to the possibilities there, but I haven't really looked into them as much as I'd like.
I've talked. So Josh is talking about Derek Walczak, Derek does some of the interviews with me whenever we interview a team or something. And he's an accredited investor that's doing a lot of investing in projects and private sales and whatnot. And he and I have talked a lot about stable coins, and We've got an interview that's been recorded for a few weeks, so we haven't put out yet, but it's with yet another one of these stablecoin teams. And a lot of these projects have really interesting setups. So the base, I agree with Derek for why I think stablecoins make sense. So one reason is if you have one is there's a market just to be better than Tether, and I actually don't think Tether's that bad, but there's enough there's enough FUD and salt and whatever else that there's definitely a market for either competing with or replacing Tether. But there's also this idea that sometimes you want blockchain-based contracts that need a stable peg to enable the contract. So like if you say, well, I'm paying 10 BTC for something, well, that's fine in the fake world. But like if I'm buying a house or something with that, then it's such a drastic change in terms of the value, since Bitcoin alone is not particularly pegged. I wouldn't even do that. Like people wouldn't even do that with gold. Like you wouldn't say like, well, I'm buying this house for like 17 bars of gold or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's this need for stability or a pegged currency. And what a lot of the projects are doing is they're creating one token that's a peg and another token that's like a share token. And that way, as the pegged token or as the stable coin gains adoption, it increases the value of the share coin, and that's where speculation occurs. And that's where investors can make money. So there's all sorts of projects, but the MakerDAO, the Basis is what was formerly Basecoin, Haven, Fragments is the one that we have an interview with the guy that is the CEO of that one. And I think they're really interesting. I think that's definitely a demand area for crypto. I think some of them have incredibly high expectations, like the relatively famously, the Basis one. They have these comments where it's like, well, here's what our coin will be worth if we become the world reserve currency. It's like, okay, well, good luck.
Let's start with getting a working product or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so, there are other projects too that have been working a long time on products. I think you and I are both really interested in what EOS is doing from a product and price situation. I don't know of a whole lot of altcoins that have tackled their all-time highs. Do you?
Not really.
Yeah, I personally don't.
The thing with EOS is it's at like an interesting inflection point where they're starting to get an actual product, possibly.
Yeah.
So if it works in some regard, like it'll be great, it'll be bullish. If it's a complete flop, they're just going to say we're working on it and it's in beta or whatever, But I don't think the market will take that.
Yeah, it seems to me though that they are they've got some serious manpower, I guess, in order to actually get the product live. I mean, Dan Larimer's released blockchains before, so it's not like they can release a blockchain. Like that's not the hard part for them, I don't think. It seems to me that the hard part is to truly be able to show that they can create one that is scalable, that it can beat Ethereum, because they're trying to come in and turn Ethereum into Netscape,
but it's 100% hype at this point. That's all
because
it
it's
is.
not because it's not alive. But
Right.
I do think that there's evidence that it's the real deal. Personally, as much as I may dislike the way they did their token sale and the way they've done their corporate setup and whatnot, they've got, based on my understanding, like dozens and dozens of full-time developers, and apparently they have a $1 billion venture fund.
Someone did tell me about that.
To support the development of dApps on their platform. So instead of people that want to build something on EOS going and doing an ICO, they're saying, well, we'll just fund you to build your product and we'll give you money to build on the EOS platform instead of Ethereum. And to me, that's an incredible developer incentive. Like I mentioned that to a friend of mine. He was like, wait, where? Like, where do I go to apply? Like, I want to get some of that EOS money, and I'll build something on EOS instead of Ethereum. And if it can,
it's funny though. They're using the Ethereum funds to pay for development on EOS. Like it's just really funny.
Well, sure, why not? I mean, Ethereum's a great ICO platform.
Right.
You know?
No, but I'm just saying, like, it's just a weird, like, loop, you know? Like,
Oh yeah,
we're
absolutely.
gonna raise money with Ethereum, so our EOS token increases in value so that we can pay people to do stuff. Like, it makes sense. Like, it's not a bad idea, but it's just
Yeah.
weird.
And really, all of them have kind of gone that route, haven't they? Where they,
Yeah, but EOS is just the most, like, not
Blatant.
incriminating example, but the most egregious example of, collecting 2.6 billion or whatever in Ethereum, and then like
Yeah.
saying we're going to kill Ethereum. Like, okay,
The amount of money they've raised has been staggering. And what's most fascinating to me about all of these projects is they raised some number of Ethereum or whatever, and then a lot of them, in dollars, it's so much more valuable than that. So their war chests now are relative to the increase in price of Ethereum. And even if you account, like, I don't think very many of them sold Ethereum above $1,000. At least I was, again, referencing that Laura Shin interview with Melton. Mm-hmm. She was apparently advising their portfolio companies, like, y'all need to unload some Ethereum while it's $1,200, $1,400. And when it was tanking to 500 or whatever, under 500, they were calling and we're like, oh, we didn't do it. Should we do it now? And like,
and we saw that though.
Apparently,
we saw
people apparently people
EOS
that run these projects
selling the bottle.
Yeah, apparently they're not very good traders.
Oh,
if you need consulting and you have $1 billion, I will consult you on good times to sell your Ethereum. If you want to hit me up, I'm available. I could at least help you dollar cost average out of your ICO buy. I will do it for a small fee, relative to what you raised. Anyway, so I actually do think I want to get your feedback on this. I think EOS could actually have like one of those mind melting Ethereum style runs based on some of the stuff that they're doing and launching their network and creating hype cycles. So that's one I'm looking out for, even though it looks extremely expensive to me right now. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that one from a fundamental perspective. And as much as we just were talking about how Binance is interesting in terms of how they're doing some of their business practices, fundamentally they've got a ton going for them. They have talked about burning company profits into their own token. And
what was that token they listed, and then there was some like scam thing with it?
That was, I don't know what that was called, but it was the one that Floyd Mayweather and
was
someone
it that
else, one? Paris Hilton. Yeah.
Okay.
That was just a straight up scheme, some kind of scheme that got shut down, and Binance had listed it, so they delisted it pretty quickly.
Well, but they not only listed this one I'm talking about, but they also promoted it by saying, like, if you trade in it, if there's volume, then it might have been Centra. We'll give you basically, if you bring liquidity to this product, we will give you a reward. So they were like leading the lambs to slaughter, maybe unknowingly, but what they did, right?
They do competitions in order to help establish liquidity. So I guess if you pay them $1 million, you get listed, and you pay them $2 million, you get like a competition. Like Storm had that. Part of what created that huge Storm run was some kind of competition, I think. I don't really know. I don't follow their community that closely. I do know that it seems, at least from the outside, their communication is fantastic. The way they're such a massive target right now, and anytime they have some kind of issue come up, they're communicating that pretty effectively, in my opinion. And then also they, they're potentially going this route of being a decentralized exchange and somehow combining that with the centralized exchange. So, I've got this one on watch. Similar to potentially do the same thing we're seeing with EOS right now, where it kind of tackles that all-time high. It failed it before. To me, it's a fairly convincing cup and handle continuation pattern right now. So if we breach 18K or whatever it is up there, I think this could have a nice run off of that. I don't know if you have followed at all the little 100x trading competition that I've been doing.
I have not, sadly.
Okay, you should, man. Those are some of my best. Those are some of my best trades since we started with a relatively small amount.
Well, you got lucky because the market bailed out your positions, right?
No, screw that, man. We started this in the bear market. It was so hard.
Right, like you started it when it was a bear market, but the market's turned around, right?
Yeah, they turned around, but I've made some decent trades in there too.
All right. I'm not like shitting on your positions or anything. But
Well, right now my biggest position is this little B&B play. I think I've got about 70%.
This little ditty here.
This little bitty right here.
Yeah.
I've got about 70% in Binance because it was like I'd been taking profits off those big runs, and everything was pumped. Everything was over like 80 on the RSI, and Binance had this drawdown, and it just seemed like it might weather a downturn a little better to me if Bitcoin got rejected and altcoins got rejected, and then also had ZRX. Which had already kind of tackled that daily cloud, so it seemed like it had some support under it in the case of a drop. So we'll see how those go, but that's kind of what I'm looking at in terms of altcoins. Like a lot of these, their daily RSIs even, like certainly their low time frame, daily RSIs are like 70 to 80 or higher, and to me it seems like they need to reset for a couple days, and then we'll find out if we have continuation of this run or if it was a short-lived alts party. There was a very, very good, in my opinion, Twitter thread, I'm not sure if you saw it, where this guy did an analysis of past alt seasons and talked about how typically they've been fueled by a run-up in Bitcoin value, and then once they were so depressed and so down and like whatever in the dumps, the money made in Bitcoin then fueled the alts rally. Right. So his theory was that basically altcoins need to chill longer. This is a nice little test run, but the conclusion from that would be take your profits, enjoy it, put them back in Bitcoin. If Bitcoin has this move to 14,000, if it does that quickly in any way, that could keep alts down in the dumps for a little while longer, get them back to accumulation zones, and then maybe fuel another alts rally from there. I know
that makes sense to me because Bitcoin had that crazy run, then it would go sideways, and then alts would do their thing, so that makes sense to me. So again, it's weird to see everything moving together. I don't think that's going to last forever.
I think last year it did so in like March, and then it stopped, yeah. And then there was a couple of months of alts pain again, and then in the summer again when Bitcoin was going down, a lot of alts had rallies as those profits fueled back into at least particular alts. So I think it's one of those ones where you got to be nimble. I mean, surely if you got great pricing on your altcoins, you got the bottom of these accumulation channels, and those channels hold, then you can probably hold it through the ups and downs and do fine. My strategy has been to trade a little more actively on them to try to capture my 30% and my 40%, and it's not a 10x, it's not a Lambo on one trade. But I'm trying to increase my Bitcoin and go from there. So that's been my strategy. Are you trading any alts at all?
Yeah, I was in and out of ADA.
Oh yeah, I forgot you had that position. I sold that one way too quick.
What else was I in? EOS, CRX. Look, there are a few things that are certain in life: death, taxes, and ZRX being listed on Coinbase. Okay. This is not investment advice, but it might take 13 years to happen, but it's going to happen.
So I think I've got my ZRX of 2018. So in 2017, I was so bullish on ZRX. Like I bought it. I couldn't get the ICO, but I bought it on day one on Liqui, and then it had these huge fluctuations where some of the people that had the coin sold it. So I had a good price on it, not the bottom, but I survived most of the ZRX bleed. A coin that has had a big bleed that I think has similarly interesting fundamental qualities is Poly, the Poly chain, whatever. Yeah. I know you had a little bit of that.
I did.
Anyway, so I've been buying that in this 5K region, and it's one where I just kind of have it, intending to hold it, see what happens for a while. So I'm putting it on the podcast. That's my ZRX for 2018.
thing about poly is I agree with you. It looks like it's bottomed. The things I hear internally about them that aren't public are worrisome, which is why I wasn't shedding any tears when I finally sold it to pay for taxes. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, on paper it looks like a great idea.
You're not supposed to spread FUD about my bag.
I'm just saying, like, I'm an honest person. I'm going to be honest. Like, that's what it was. What it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it be, bro. I was trying to get rid of it on KuCoin. I got out at some of it on like a wick at like 12k sats or something before like just dumped. Mm-hmm. I just need to learn. Like, I just need to market sell this stuff and not hope that the bids and asks get filled. Like, just like if it's an ICO and you don't have that much of it, just market sell it. You know, that's just my own advice for myself. But
yeah, there's a lot of power to market selling, I think. Just getting rid of it. You have a little slippage and whatnot, but you know, like you said, I mostly agree with you there. I've become more drawn to market selling. I just redrew my triangle so that it doesn't look like it failed it. But to me, this one's still in the accumulation zone. What the Bittrex chart really doesn't show the history. But you mentioned 1,200 sats or something, so that's a 2x from here. But it's one of those ones I just plan to let it sit for a while.
It completely just dropped off the table after my failed attempt to get out completely. Yeah.
So you mentioned taxes. Why don't we finish on that and talk about what there was discussion about whether tax stuff was real or not real,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was an effect on the market. Tax season in the U.S. is done now.
It's done if you paid your taxes on time, right? You can still defer.
if you filed an extension like I did, then you still have to pay.
So did I, but still, yeah.
But at least we did the calculations roughly to know what the pain is going to be. You know.
Yeah.
At least that's what I did. So, is your thought that was a real effect on the market? It seems to be to me. Everybody that I talked to that has traded significantly in 2017, they did the calculations and it was going to be painful. So to me, at least in my real life, it has seemed quite relevant. Do you think it was relevant enough to affect pricing so that was part of what we saw there with those sell-offs, is people having to liquidate their crypto assets in order to pay taxes?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't prepared, clearly, and it surprised the hell out of me. Mainly because I held back on trade, like getting in and out of certain positions, knowing that taxes were going to be high in 2017.
Same. Yeah, me too.
Like, I didn't sell when I should have because I knew taxes were just going to be so outrageous. Correlation isn't causation, but it's hard to ignore the fact that taxes were Q1, and then as soon as Q1 is over, we just like reverse. I don't know. Like it seems really suspicious to not connect the two.
Yeah, I definitely think it was part of it. I'm not sure about the narrative of saying like, oh well, now it's April 17th, it's time to pump. As an exact decision point. But I'm sure a year from now, or 6 months from now, people will like put a vertical line and be like, that's when taxes were due, that's when the market turned. Like, nailed it.
It wasn't a sole factor, but I think it was definitely a contributing factor.
Yeah. So one more note. There was you got blocked by this guy on Twitter.
I don't know what I said, honestly.
He just saw too many retweets of the Ichimoku cloud, and he was like, I don't want to see this anymore.
It might have been, I called him my spirit animal, and I think he got confused.
He took that the wrong way.
Maybe. Honestly, I don't know.
I forget his name right now. Can you tell me?
Thomas Lee.
Tom Lee. Yeah. So Tom Lee, I don't know anything about him. He's a suit. He did a survey of what would you call them, like traditional market investors.
Yeah.
and he asked them, one of the questions was, "Is the bottom in?" And was it 70 or 80%?
It was high. It was at least 70.
Yeah, I think it was 70% said the bottom is in. And I commented on Twitter to that I don't know if that makes me bullish or bearish. Like, to me, it seems like, one, what incentive do they have to be truthful in that answer? Like, maybe they have a position right now, but they don't think the bottom is in, or maybe it is. Like, to me, the biggest thing about this, about saying, okay, the bottom is in, is whenever someone talked about how the precise bottom of 57, 5,800, whatever it was that it wicked down to, that was like exactly $100 billion or something, and that's the kind of the minimum for a lot of funds to be able to play in the ecosystems. So I hold on to that as my that's why it was the bottom fundamental incentive. But I thought it was I thought it was interesting that so many traditional investors at least replied in a survey that they felt the bottom was in. And then you combine that with George Soros getting involved in crypto. He said he was getting involved, which means surely he's already got his fills.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. A lot of these big guys are in, I think.
Yeah, and then Goldman Sachs said they hired a trader. I don't remember his name, but
Justin Schmidt.
Yeah, about 150 people on Twitter changed their name to Justin Schmidt. So they've got their crypto desk over at Goldman Sachs. They bought Circle. So in general, I personally think that we have plenty of bullish sentiment fundamentally to be able to spur on some price action markup, get the disbelief going. We still got some bears out there crying pretty hard. When you and I were bullish 6 to 7K, people were shorting literally everything. Like any pump was being shorted. I think that that's plenty of good opportunity because you still probably have active shorts off of 11.8 ish, that double top. Mm-hmm. I would imagine there's some active shorts that you can find liquidity, if you will, above 11.8. So it makes a lot of sense as a target for me. That's why I'm personally maintaining my bullish stance. I don't know how altcoins will play into all of that, but I'm playing both. I'm feeling pretty good about the market. What about you? Any final thoughts?
I'm feeling good about the market too. I mean, I'm definitely less concerned than I was a few weeks ago. That's for sure. Somebody was asking earlier in the pod about taking profits, like what levels you should take profits. I think you can go down to like the hourly and look at these consolidation versus explosion periods, or impulsion periods, whatever you want to call them. And just do fib extensions and take profit at the 1.618 of every single consolidation from breakout point to high, and you should be good. I mean, that looking at the hourly on like EOS or whatever, that would have got you out at fine profit. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just use like fractal stops on like 4 hour. I wouldn't go too low, but 4 hours usually pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. And finally, I guess we'll have time to talk about it, but we're going to have some news incentives coming up over the next month as we come into consensus. You went last year. Mm-hmm. You'll be there this year. Mm-hmm. I hope you wear as much crypto swag at consensus as you have on right now.
I got to rep my niche, bro. I got... people send me free stuff. I gotta wear it, right?
Yeah.
So Bitstamp, shout out to them with their sick logo. Their new logo that's probably going to change when they get acquired by whoever they're getting acquired by currently.
JP Morgan.
Yeah, whatever.
Are they getting acquired? Is that a rumor or is that just a presumption?
It's been a rumor for a long time, and there was recently some other story that just came out like today or yesterday about this company Nevon trying to buy them.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then this other company, Blockchain Shop. I think it's .com. Blockchainshop.com. Send me a free hoodie, so I got to talk about them.
Cool. Well, you'll be there. We'll do some coverage of that. Derek's
That-
going to be there. I'm
it'd be great
uncertain.
to-
I still
What
want to
if-
get there, but I'm probably not going to be there.
What if we did a live podcast from Consensus?
Look,
Would
I
that-
need
would that get you there?
Consensus to give me a media ticket. I don't want to pay $3,500 to get in there.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm too cheap, man. That's almost half a Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see. But yeah, you and Derek will be there. So some friends of ledgerstatus.com will be there. Where can people keep up with you, Josh?
Twitter just hit over 100K somehow. People like what I say, I guess.
Congrats. Did you get a golden medal from twitter.com? Did they send you anything?
No, nobody cares.
Nothing. Life didn't change?
No, life goes on, as they say. Twitter, YouTube, Brave New Coin, here. Yeah,
Excellent.
I don't know. That's pretty much it,
Make
right?
sure y'all click like. Let us know if you liked the streaming format of this. We wanted it to be as accurate as possible, pricing wise. We've been pumping while we're on the show, so that's nice. My positions appreciate it. My son bought the dip because he's a professional trader. He's better than me, that's for sure. All right. Go to ledgerstatus.com to subscribe, get notifications, all that kind of stuff. Like us on YouTube. Give us a rating in iTunes. We got to compete with all of these other crypto podcasts out there. I don't know what
That's a
they're
crowded
thinking.
space these days. Everybody's doing
Getting to be a crowded space.
crypto podcast.
Yeah, that's okay. That just means there's people listening. So appreciate y'all being
Yeah.
here, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks.